LVZ, and we're back with another video. In this video, we're talking about basically the government trying to get involved with women rights, women basic rights, as far as like abortion and stuff like that. How do y'all feel about that? Like, you think that should just be y'all decision to make if y'all want an abortion or not? You think it's a good thing? You think it's a bad thing? And let me know down in the comment section, y'all. We're gonna see what they gotta say in this video. Let's get right into it. Let's get.
And so I want to play a part of what the former president said about IVF, and then really just a short time ago, Kamala Harris's response.
And IVF, you had mentioned before
right,
IVF.
Let's get this question, because I believe that's what this is about.
Oh, I want to talk about IVF. I'm the father.
You don't hear that every day.
I'm the father of IVF. And I said, explain IVF very quickly. And within about 2 minutes, I understood it. I said, no, we're totally in favor of IVF. I came out with a statement within an hour, a really powerful statement with some experts, really powerful.
I found it to be quite bizarre. Actually, he called himself the father of IVF. And if what he meant is taking responsibility, well, then, yeah, he should take responsibility for the fact that 1 in 3 women in America lives in a Trump abortion ban state. What he should take responsibility for is that couples who are praying and hoping and working toward growing a family have been so disappointed and harmed by the fact that IVF treatments have now been put at risk.
Ashley.
Damn. That abortion law is something serious, man. I feel like it's your body. How I feel is your body. Do what you want with your body. That's how I feel, bro. You feel like you want to make that decision? Make that decision. That's on you. That's on, you know what I'm saying? You got to live on that on your conscience, which is okay if that's good for you. Like, that's cool for you. You good. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like y'all should make your own decisions. Nobody should make decisions for us. Humans in general, we should make our own decisions. That's all I'm saying.
It does feel like part of a pattern from Donald Trump. First of all, Katie Britt helps him to understand a very complex issue medically, socially in 2 minutes, and then he's an expert on it. And now he is the father of IVF. That is the kind of language that has been consistent throughout his career.
Right. With Donald Trump, everything quote unquote good is superlative, right? He's not just in support of IVF. He is the father of IVF. He is, an expert on it. He is the strongest supporter. It's also part of the pattern of him really grappling with his stance on reproductive rights in a post-Roe world, which of course is the result of the 3 Supreme Court justices who he picked in part very specifically because his base wanted them because they would overturn Roe if that case came before them. And he really has sort of taken every side of this issue. He continues to brag and take credit for the Dobbs decision. Yet at the same time, he is very reluctant to take credit and in fact distances himself from many of the actual ramifications of the decision, which you are seeing play out in states. And even in his own home state of Florida, where there is an abortion initiative on the ballot, he kind of went in a 24-hour period. He went back and forth and kind of took both sides of it because on the one hand, he wanted to be more moderate. And then, of course, he got backlash from his base. And having covered Donald Trump since 2015, one thing I have learned is that when he is sort of in that push and pull between moving to the center and appeasing his base, even though his base has never left him, when there is an outcry from his base, even though he potentially has the ability to bring them along to a more moderate, more middle, more centrist position, he almost always retreats to what that far base wants. And so we've really seen this playing out time and time again on abortion.
So let's talk about abortion. I want to play, Elise, exactly what he had to say just a little while ago.
Why is the government involved in women's basic rights?
Right. Good. I think it's great, and I'm glad you asked it. For 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart. It's where everybody has wanted it for years, and now it's working its way out in the states. And honestly, some of them are going much more liberal, like in Ohio. I would have thought it might
some of them
be a
are
little
not
bit different. And some of them are not, but it's going to be redone. You end up with a vote of the people. And some of them, I agree, they're too tough. And those are going to be redone because already there's a movement in those states, I know exactly what you're talking about, to redo it.
I found the exchange to be stunning, Chris. The question from the female voter, this is in Cummings, Georgia, Forsyth County, usually very Trump-leaning. He won it by 33 points. And that was the question that women have this election season. Why is the government involved in women's health care?
Cummings, Georgia, what does that tell you, that that was the question in that particular location?
It shows just how deep this cuts and how Trump might have a problem with white women, white suburban women. He definitely has a problem with them. And how many of those voters...
Was not expecting her to say that. Does he really? Jeez. That's crazy as hell.
Can Kamala Harris peel off to counterbalance the black men who might not be turning out for her or the Hispanic voters she's losing? That's a big question.
Do you think she can gain in this gender gap more women?
I think definitely. I think that this is the most gender segregated election we've ever seen.
So, Ashley, you actually recently wrote about how this kind of alpha male mentality is ingrained in the Trump campaign. And beyond what he says, and he does talk tough, right? At his rally earlier this week, I'm just giving you a couple of examples. He played James Brown's song, It's a Man's World, which was also played, and some people criticized it being played during the RNC, where also Hulk Hogan, we remember, ripped off his shirt. But talk about how that mentality permeates and drives the campaign.
So any campaign, the tone and the mentality is set from the top. So Donald Trump is setting this. And so it's not just his policy positions and some of his public statements, but it's how who he surrounds himself with. Not all, but a majority of sort of the top staff on that campaign are men. They're men who use very crude language and, as we reported in our piece, can be disrespectful, even of their female superiors and colleagues. And you see it even when in their press statements, the press statements from the Trump operation, even when you're talking to them about a story about maybe sensitivity on abortion rights and how he's dealing with that, or how he's going to try to close the gender gap with women. The statements are often sort of brash, aggressive, trolly, kind of ripped from, the very online right-wing kind of scrollosphere, combative language, and that's just who the former president is and what his campaign is. And I will say, I remember I went into the RNC, and one of the stories I was thinking of doing, I was curious, how are they going to use this convention to try to close the gender gap with women, to try to appeal to women, especially in that moment that felt very somber and emotional coming right after when he was shot in Butler, Pennsylvania. And I quickly realized from the public presentation was they weren't. The convention was not geared towards bringing on board reticent women, right? It was Hulk Hogan ripping his shirt off on stage, as I remember as a kid in the 90s. It was Dana White from Ultimate Fighting. It was just a very different audience and message that they were targeting, and a convention which is so carefully scripted, that's a quite deliberate decision.
And Kamala Harris sees an opening here, Elise. She argues that Trump's version or vision of what strength is, insulting, threatening people, saying he may or may not have had conversations with Putin, but certainly foreign leaders wouldn't do against the United States or against other allies what they've done with Joe Biden as president. She says it's exactly the opposite. Take a listen.
In fact, the man is really quite weak. He's weak. It's a sign of weakness that you want to please dictators and seek their flattery and favor. It's a sign of weakness that you would demean America's military and America's service members. It's a sign of weakness that you don't have the courage to stand up for the Constitution of the United States and the principles upon which it stands. This man is weak and he is unfit.
One of the things that strikes me about this is when I was on the campaign trail in 2016 with a succession of Republican candidates who dropped out. They didn't know how to respond to Donald Trump. They didn't know how to respond to his statements. It was something so new. And so they thought, crazy, really, to be honest with you. They just didn't. It was outside of the parameters of typical political discourse. Is she finding the answer?
I think she has. She has zeroed in on what undecided voters simply don't like. They do not like the rancor. They don't like the chaos. They don't like the nasty name calling. And so by highlighting that, by emphasizing the chaos that's going to come back, that if he gets elected again, that is an extremely effective attack, I think, at this point in the game.
Like I said, I don't agree on government getting involved with women's rights. I feel like we should have the freedom to do whatever we want to our body. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, bro. We shouldn't let no people who don't even know try to judge us or try to make laws for us. That's just how I feel about the whole situation, man. I don't know. Let me know how y'all feel down in the comments. I know a lot of women here feel the same way as I feel. Y'all let me know how y'all feel in the comment section, man. It's a crazy year. It's always crazy when every 4 years there's always something crazy. But this is probably the craziest election I've ever seen in my life. Of my 26 years of living, this is the craziest election I've ever seen. It's hysterical. But I love y'all. I love y'all support. Make sure y'all like the video, comment on the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell to notify when I upload. Y'all don't be scared to look at every video matters that I post. It will keep you updated on life, on what's going on. And yeah, I will stay consistent as hell. You know what I'm saying? I love y'all so much though. Peace and love, baby. We out.